Hi, this is Pastor Wayne Moore, a voice of Real People, Real Voices. Happy to be with you all today. Happy that you're out there waiting for us to have a great show with you today. Today, sitting with me is our producer, Brother Baker, and we're going to have a great show today.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in the co-hosting seat today.
Yeah.
And I feel so blessed to be sitting next to you.
Thank you.
And hopefully that we can get through this show, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
We have Dr. David Greene with us today.
Well, why don't we do the sponsors first?
Well, let's do the sponsors. So let's get those out of the way. Tamiko and Associates, Lavinia and Summers Home and Funerals, Marion County Public Health Department, Lee Castle and Crawley, Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window and Gutter Cleaning, Fervent Care Christian Academy, and His Place Eatery.
Not only that, you can like us on Facebook. We're there. We want you to be a part of us. Just hit us, check us out. We'll be there waiting on you to share with us as we talk about various items and issues in our community. And we want you to be a part of that. Real Voices and Real People has been here for some time, and we're doing what we can to inform the community and give all the insight and help that we can to keep you informed about those things that are taking place in the community, not only socially, but mostly from a religious perspective as well. And so stay tuned. We'll be right back, right here on Real People, Real Voices. Well, welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm happy to be here today with my beloved friends, my producer, not only my producer, but also Dr. David Greene. How you doing, Doc?
Good to be with you, Dr. Moore.
It is.
It's always good to be on Real People, Real Voices, and with the producer. Well, I'm just excited to be here.
Man, there's a lot going on, and you and I have been working in the community for some time, and we're going to continue to do that. To make whatever differences we can from a faith-based perspective, not only from a faith-based perspective, but also speak truth to power when it is needed. I think in many cases, that's where we are right now in this post and pre. I like to say both of those because we're still in the pandemic.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on, especially with the suffrage of the pandemic. People have suffered so much, but at the same time, the gas prices. I don't know about you, Brother Baker. Have you been to the pump lately?
Well, I have, and it's unfortunate for people who don't have the means. Mm-hmm. I'm blessed to know that I can afford somewhat of gas prices, so I don't try to complain, but I know that it's a reason to complain. And what I try to do is I try to keep my tank so I don't
manageable.
Get it empty, because when you go to the gas pump and you're putting in $70, when you put in $30 before, to fill your tank, that's a shock to you. Yeah. You know, so I try not to shock myself, and I do less driving. Yeah. But it is something that, you know, we have to do something about it. And people want to say, and I'm just going to say this, and they want to blame the president. Presidents have nothing to do with gas prices. You know, it's all, and this is a worldwide situation, so it's not just here. Yeah. Just so you know, people know know that.
Well, we've been working on the idea, and Dr. Greene, I want to compliment you and thank you for that, about trying to get some help and support to the community, not the community, let me say it this way, the state of Indiana.
Right.
The state of Indiana, we're sitting on a $6 billion plus surplus. And people are really feeling this, not only at the gas stations, at grocery stores, anything where we buy groceries, commodities, et cetera. We're feeling the crunch in this particular situation. And we see some things happening at a state level, but at the same time, is it going to be what is adequately needed for this particular time?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Moore, for us working together. I think that's coalition building is extremely important in this day and age. So I applaud you as the president of the Baptist Ministers Alliance, as well as the president of the National Action Network of Indiana, Dr. Stephen J. Clay. as our governor, and certainly we appreciate the governor trying to offer a suggestion related to the inflation that has hit all of us as Hoosiers. Gas prices are up, food prices are up. As he's laid out his plan, it was one of equality and not one of equity. So I'm thankful that we're working together to suggest to the governor, to other elected officials as they begin to debate the plan that the governor's offering up, that we really think in terms of equity, not equality, because everybody's not equal in Indiana. While, as Mr. Baker has shared, it's a challenge when you used to pay 30 and you go in for 70. Well, for some people, though, it doesn't make a difference. And so I truly believe if we're going to spend $1 billion in Indiana committed to this plan, we need to look through the lens of equity and not equality. Equality says we're all going to get the same. Every Hoosier that's paying taxes is going to get the same. That's the pain and suffering that we see in Indiana is not equal across the board. There are certainly communities, zip codes, areas of our state that are suffering more than others. So we're suggesting, and I believe it's rightfully so, let's look through an equity lens. Mm-hmm. Let's say there are particular groups of people who need to get more, and so they will get more, while some people who are making millions of dollars, which the $250, $225 really won't make a difference. They're still going to keep doing what they're doing, and help those that are truly suffering and in need. Because this inflation, the rise of gas prices, the rise of food prices, impacts some people where they have to make choices. There are people, I'm sure, that are people, Hoosiers in Indiana, choosing, well, do I go to that doctor's visit or not? Because if I go to it and get a bill, I may not be able to get gas. That's different from Hoosiers who have insurance, who make plenty of money. This really doesn't make a difference. Matter of fact, the $225 or $450 will just mean they're going to go to an online website, Amazon, and order something. It's not about those who are really managing, having to decide, having to make critical choices. Do I get this or do I get this? Because I got to do without some stuff. And so I'm hoping that we begin to look at it through an equity lens.
You're basically saying everybody's starting at the same starting line.
Everybody didn't, is what I'm saying.
Not.
Everybody didn't start at the same starting line, so there needs to be an equity lens and not an equality lens, because everybody didn't start at the same spot. Well, everybody's not at the same spot.
But the state government is putting everybody at the same spot.
They're assuming that.
Yeah.
We have a chart that we'll show on the screen, and we're showing it right now, a chart that will show how the difference of equity is exactly what you talked about. So you'll see that as on the chart here.
Yeah, I think it's important that the equity lens is very important. I mean, if I lived in the 1-8 compared to this zip code or other zip codes, there's a possibility that it's not an equality issue, it becomes an equity issue.
Yeah, I mean, seniors who are on a fixed income,
yeah,
that's not the same as somebody else who's, we've got a number of large organizations in our state. The CEOs of these organizations, their leadership teams, probably don't need what the governor's talking about. That's equality. Everybody gets it just because. I think it's important that in our state, we have a number of issues that are equity driven. Yeah. We've talked about disparities in healthcare. We have food deserts in parts of Indiana, economic deserts in Indiana. If we're going to address them and we're going to spend $1 billion, we might as well begin to say, let's address those issues with this money versus saying we're just going to give it out equal to everybody, and from the northern part of Indiana down to the southern part of Indiana. No, I think that it would be wise if our government said, okay, let's look at this from an equity lens and help lift up some people that we know have been suffering for decades now, and not just look at it through an equality lens, which everybody just gets the same. You know, where we're truly making a difference, truly addressing what we know are problems in our community. The governor in 2020, you know, signed a chief equity officer. He knows that there are problems, else you wouldn't, you know, establish that position. Rather than begin to address inflation through equality, we're just suggesting let's address equity at the same time. Yeah. Let's take and say, hey, everybody didn't start at the same spot. Let's work together.
Okay, hold that point. We'll be right back after these messages. Well, we're back. Thank you for holding on and coming back with us. Dr. Greene is on point, and we're going to let him continue to tell us what the equity lens looks like in a time such as this compared to the equality lens. Go right ahead.
As you can see on the chart, when you're looking at it through an equality lens, some people can't see the soccer field because while they receive something, they were already behind. Everybody didn't have the same starting place. Equity says we want everybody to be able to see the field. We want to be able to those who have suffered, those who are behind, to be able to get lifted up enough to see the soccer field. And I would suggest to Brother Baker and to you, Pastor Moore, the end goal is the other piece of that chart, which says there's justice. What are you talking about? Justice where everybody can see the field. There needs to be a discussion ultimately about livable wages because we've got to help lift these people, Hoosiers, people that we all should know and love and care about, to say, hey, we want everybody to be successful. Mm-hmm. We don't want to see the state filled with deserts. We need to say, how do we help everybody to be able to have a reasonable life, not have to suffer and be in pain, trying to make some extremely difficult decisions while others are over here with absolutely no care in the world. Mm-hmm. We need to bring balance to that because the pain and suffering that leads to the disparities, the other issues, because when we don't have money, that impacts health, that impacts public safety, that impacts education. We need that. We need to come together and say, let's make it work for all Hoosiers. We're seeing it play out in our community. We have CEOs that are talking about the decline of education in Indiana. Why is it? Much of that goes back to economics. Can I afford college? Even if I have a 21st century scholarship, can I afford the books? Can I afford a place to live? And because I still got to work to pay for those types of bills, can I get there with a minimum wage where it's at? We've not addressed our minimum wage here in the state of Indiana. The states next to us have. We need to, in the midst of all this that's going on with that rise in inflation, salaries have not rose to match. We need to have some serious discussion amongst the governor, the elected officials. How do we address this for the good of Hoosiers? Because if gas prices remain high, food prices remain high, how do things get better? How do people make it? It's going to be a lot of pain and suffering. I just think it's the time to sit down and say, let's have a for real conversation that probably will lead to some adjustment in the minimum wage and hopefully move us towards a livable wage for those who are working. Motivate people to work.
So you're basically saying when we look at this, one of the pivotal issues is the wage issue. Wouldn't it sound logical to take the $1 billion and begin to create the atmosphere of wage increases instead of doing the one-time $225? That sounds very, 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 very manageable and doable to create and excite the community of Indiana, to let them know that the minimum wage piece is on the way instead of $225 that will be done away with in a matter of hours.
Exactly. I mean, because part of the challenge in my mind, Pastor Moore, is when people see just equality and they cannot see the field, then there's no hope, Brother Baker. So just getting a little bit, I couldn't see the field before.
Right.
And your little increase is not going to help me see the field.
Right.
Why do I want to participate in that? And we've got to provide hope in our communities. And so that says we have to look at things differently because equality is not working. And people could rightfully argue that equality has us in the position that we're in. What we need is equity to help lift all of Hoosiers where they're saying, hey, I have hope, I can see, I've got a potential. Going to college is now an option because I can work and go to school at the same time. I mean, things will change if we can see and begin to operate through an equity lens. I think our biggest problem is we have too many organizations who talk equity but act equality.
Yeah.
And
So
we need to act equity.
You're basically saying that equity ought to be before equality now, because we have been totally exacerbated in the ideology of equality from the civil rights movement, even up until this moment. And now the equity piece is more prevalent. They ought to be married together now in a way to where if there's equality, there will be equity soon to follow, or if there's equity, there will be equality that will soon to follow. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I mean, we need that equity lens, and we need it right away. It's just important and imperative in order to address all of what we see as social determinants here in Indiana where we're negative at. You've got to lift the income level. I mean, I'm sure if you think about anybody who's on a minimum wage job and look at the gas prices, there's a place out here where it doesn't even make sense for them to drive to this part-time job that's minimum wage. Depending on how far away it is, it'll be like, that doesn't economically make sense.
With a crippled transit system.
Yes.
With a crippled transit system.
So we need to look through an equity lens so people are motivated and it makes sense to do the right thing. And we can do that. I mean, the governor, others can say, wait a minute now. We see equality. We could easily give it to every Hoosier gets the same amount. But why not commit to doing something different that would help low-income Hoosiers, those on fixed incomes, young people? Let's help them out versus just looking at it through equality and just saying, okay, well, we did something. We gave $1 billion away, and we gave that out to Hoosiers. Let's get more bang for our buck and look through an equity lens.
More bang for the buck and make people more, I guess you would say, responsible for their own future. You just can't do it with a minimum wage between $7 and $8. And the highest dollar amount for an hourly job is, in many cases, $15 an hour.
And we've proven it through the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because many organization companies started to pay more money, which suggests you could have been paying more money before, but you chose profit over people. And what we need to do now is say, and the government can help lead us, hey organizations, hey companies, let's invest in Hoosiers, let's do it the right way, because in the end, we'll be a better state.
And you'll be profitable. You'll be definitely profitable. And I think that's one thing that we need to really understand, that it is people who move this, whether we realize it or not. And it's the politics that govern it. But at the same time, we're looking at policies that are not pushing the people in the direction that they need to go to where they can literally survive and thrive and achieve in their own arenas.
I really think, Pastor Moore, Brother Baker, that people have gone on strike because when they look at that chart and it's equal and I can't see the field, they said, and that's why so many companies are saying I can't find employees.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Greene, you'll be back, believe me. Thank you for coming in and helping us to understand some things as it relates to the lens that we're looking through, whether it be equality or equity. We just need to be patient, and hopefully that people will understand that there needs to be some shifts in the paradigm to make Indiana a better place to live. Welcome back to Real People, Real Voices. I'm Pastor Wayne Moore, along with my producer,
Curtis Baker.
We're here for the rundown. Go through our sponsors.
Well, your sponsors today will be Lavinia and Summers Home of Funerals, Tamiko and Associates Real Estate Group, Marion County Public Health Department, Lee Castle and Crawley, Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes, Northside Window and Gutter Cleaning, Fervent Care Christian Academy, and His Place Eatery.
Dr. Greene, I think, gave us some pertinent information as it relates to possibly putting us in an arena to where we need to look at things a little bit differently. For so many years, we have tried very hard to fight for this thing called equality, which in many cases, in some areas, have been successful. But now we're at a place now to where you clearly see the haves and you clearly see the have-nots.
Well, you know, the pandemic took the cover off a lot of that. If you think about it, when they gave out a lot of that stimulus money, you had, and I'm not going to mention names, steakhouses downtown that took those PP loans out, or whatever you call those loans, and you had these struggling salons that were not able to do the proper paperwork to get stuff to keep them still to remain in business. But you had these businesses, they're multi-million-dollar businesses that were getting this money that didn't really need it. And that's the difference between having everybody do something equal versus equity. And I think Dr. Greene really put a nail on it. And I think we really need to talk about that going forward.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk about it going forward, and we hope that in the future that we can continue to bring information like that, because it does nothing but help the community. So thank you all for tuning in today. This is Pastor Wayne Moore and Curtis Baker. And we're signing off today from Real People, Real Voices, and we hope that you will continue to be a part of the Real People, Real Voices family.
See you later,
Have a great day.
Aunt Jeanette.